So, welcome to Inside Movies Galore. Once again, now that we've got the bigger show out of the way, we can get to the smaller show on two short films, one from Milwaukee and by director Ryan Fox, and the other is once again Videobox from the UK. So, hopefully, you enjoyed the episode before on Salo. We also had an interview with the director. So let's get started here. Dane, what did you think of the life and times of Thomas Thumb Jr.?
It was a most riveting biopic indeed of someone with a very interesting birth defect. The ups and downs of such a lad, including one suicide attempt, scraping for money by unusual means, and trying hard to achieve the American dream, as we all do. Yeah, I thought it was kind of... I can't say I've ever heard of such a thing about a man who literally has a thumb for a head. Yeah, I can't say I've ever thought of that one, but I know it was supposed to be a comedy. It didn't quite make me laugh, but at the same time, it wasn't because it wasn't working as a film. It just, I don't know. I was mostly just sitting back and like, this is really strange, which is saying a lot for me because I tend to love strange humor. But in this case, I don't know what it was. I think it was just so strange that like here's the best way I can say it. If any of the viewers or listeners out there have ever watched The Tick, the animated series, or read the comic books or whatever, you remember Chairface Chippendale, the supervillain who literally has a chair for a face? That imagine a whole movie about that guy. That's kind of how I felt about this. You know, like that concept alone is either so strange that you want to see it, which I probably would too if I heard it. It is very strange. I guess for me, there weren't a whole lot of jokes necessarily. It was just kind of, here's a guy who was born with a thumb for a head. Here's his life. And it's very kind of absurdist. And I guess for me, it's sort of not quite absurdist enough. It's in fake biopic kind of territory, with the occasional jaunt into the completely absurd, which I guess for me, it could have been a little bit more completely absurd since the premise is inherently absurd. But I guess the idea was to try and give it something to ground it. Yeah, for me, I think it could have used a little bit more of a clear grounding of exactly what it was trying to be. I liked the actual thumb mask itself, as well as the felt eyebrows and eyes, nose, mouth to make the expressions. I thought that was good. I guess and I thought that it was rather unique that of all the beings out there that can regrow limbs, apparently Thomas Thumb Jr. can cut his own head off and with scissors, giant scissors, and can regrow it. Which I thought, well, that's something that'll get you in the papers. Which they kind of skipped. They kind of skipped over that part of the story where he is able to cut his own head off repeatedly for money. Which now that could have been just direction for the story to go to. Which it goes in its own direction with it, but like just not to rewrite the movie, but that's kind of where I would have gone with it because. That would have been a little bit more completely absurd, and it would have been taking further advantage of the premise. But as far as the film goes, it was fairly, well made, and from what I'd heard from you, it had a good response from its intended audience, which I assume was college students and people on MTV and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it did. When I first saw it 2 years ago at Ross Bigley's Milwaukee Short Film Festival, which I actually have something to say about that before I get further along here. He's having his short film festival coming up on September 8th and 9th at the Fox Bay Cinema at 334 East Silver Spring Drive in Milwaukee. You can buy tickets online for each event at MilwaukeeIndependentFilmSociety.org. But I actually saw it at the film festival there, and then I also saw Milwaukee Twisted Dreams. It's another festival that I get on its feet, and didn't find it as amusing as the college students that were viewing it. No, it was amusing because you have the narrative of this. The actual narrator of the film was actually like a radio announcer from a Boston radio place. And from what I understand, there was also another man in Milwaukee called Van Campbell that he's also a filmmaker, and he had something to do with this project as well. So from what I understand, it definitely made it to YouTube, a new web series called Clickbait. So it definitely is a film that's out there. Definitely seems to be a favorite among the university students. It was comical in a sense to me, and yes, it was strange. But for some reason, I will always remember the Choo Choo Charlie scene. Because for some reason, the way his face and expression is when he was let down and let go because of all the names and whatnot, that you know, you kind of feel bad for TJ at that point in time. But altogether, I think it was kind of a interesting film, regardless. So, in any case, moving on to the second film on today's agenda. Dane, why don't you tell me what you thought of Videobox? Since I got Tito's opinion on the film, I figured I'd get yours too.
Well, I really liked Videobox. I thought that was that's an import from jolly old England, correct?
Yeah, it's from the UK. Yes.
Well, I thought it was very well produced. It brought back the old video store memories, but actually of the mom and pop video stores rather than the big chains. But yeah, it was very well produced. It had a good sense of charm to it, kind of a nice, simple romance, but through a fantastical lens. And I just think that the level of creativity was far beyond what I've normally seen films. So it was one that I definitely enjoyed, and I was just glad to see some creativity matched with the technology that we now have at our fingertips to create as filmmakers.
Now, one thing I'm going to say about the Videobox is about a year ago or two, it was on IndieGoGo, and it was going for roughly about $3,000 more. Now, when because they had said in the information for it that they'd already had like $7,000, and they were looking for $3,000 more. They got to about 2,500 or so, and it was like just underneath, you know, par what they needed to make as a budget. So I didn't get everything in my perks, but as a Christmas present, I myself was able to procure one of the executive producer titles. So I was actually excited to be part of the project. Now, one thing that on the downside is that I wish is that I could have had some kind of a relationship with the director and or anyone behind the film. But I was excited to be part of the film myself. Now that may make me partly biased, but I kind of wanted to get a couple of views out of especially since I know that the film is circulating festivals, from what I understand, still. So I also love the idea of the old mom and pop shop type idea. And one of the perks that I was able to get with was actually naming one of the VHSs that was in there. I suppose I'll tell the name. It was called Attack of the Serial Tongue Licker. But
that was Toe Licker.
Killer Toe Licker. There we go. And
for all you toe licking enthusiasts out there, don't want to get that name wrong.
But in any case, least some budget issues with the IndieGoGo, but I think they stepped it up. And that's what I think about most films. If you're under budget, I think that if you work more with what you have and you have more creativity, you can make something that'll be like slam bam, thank you, ma'am, and people enjoy it. I mean,
especially David Bowie from Beyond the Grave. He looks down upon us from the stars.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, David Bowie, that one song that he did on that last album of his, I swear that was like prophetic. But in any case, I thoroughly enjoyed the film. Kind of wanted to do this a little bit more with Videobox because my voice was muffled on the first one, so bear with me. It was directed by Ben Fullman from the UK, and hopefully it gets a lot of circuitry. I think right now you can find it on Vimeo on an open link. So yeah. Dane, did you have any other thoughts?
Well, I just I think that it should not. It can't be said enough times how important not just mastering the technology and the technical aspects of your craft. I'm speaking to the filmmakers listening to this, that it's not emphasized enough the importance of mastering your craft in the technical area, and with the amazing technology that is now at our fingertips, but it does not replace the necessity for a creative story. So, nor does a purely creative story with no great way to tell it, that doesn't get you anywhere either. So if you don't have the right technology to tell the story you really want to tell, then don't, bother to, well, don't make it, to tell a story you can tell appropriately. Bottom line is make sure that your is truly that the thing you want to tell is truly worthy of telling, and that you have the technology and the creativity to make it happen. In this case, the story was worth telling, and they had the right technical resources and prowess to make it happen, and the results obviously speak for themselves on the screen.
Definitely. So, one of the other things I wanted to announce was
you're pregnant.
At the same time, one of the other things that I wanted to announce was that there is a film festival for women in Milwaukee called the Milwaukee Women's Film Festival that is happening September 8th to the 10th. Right now is accepting donations at mkewomensfestival@gmail.com. And I repeat, they are still accepting donations for either becoming a sponsor for the film or um, helping the film festival out in any way, shape, or form. It is at MKE Women's Film Festival at gmail.com. And once again, Ross Bigley's short film festival is coming up same weekend. And it is being held at the Fox Bay Cinema on 334 East Silver Spring Drive in Milwaukee. You can find ticket information at Milwaukee Independent Film Society.org. So definitely check some of these films out. Dane, or film festivals out. Dane, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself once again before we wrap this up?
Once again, I am Dane Kyle. You can find me on YouTube with my YouTube channel, The Dane Kyle, DaneKeil, where you can check out my short films. Look for me on Facebook and Twitter, and just check out some of my short film work, including my black and white German expressionist silent film, Eternus, and my upcoming black and white film noir tribute called The Big Blind, which will get released, and we're in post-production now.
Awesome. So, my name is David Struggy. I run Movies Galore of Milwaukee. I also run this with my buddy Dane and Celeste. And we have many more films in store for you. But you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can definitely look out for some films coming up. In any case, once again, we have had fun on Inside Movies Galore, and hopefully you can join us for next week. Actually, we have an episode tomorrow night, don't we?
Why not? I mean, I am good for any night, really.
Yeah, well, tomorrow night we are doing a Serbian film, and we have a newcomer to the show, which will be Dustin Nelson. Looking forward to seeing him. And once again, Shanta or Celeste will actually be joining us tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to looking at a Serbian film. So
stay tuned for a truly fun for the whole family experience.
You betcha.